Alright everybody, we've made lots of videos talking about the death of 600cc motorcycles, so this is not going to be another oh my god 600cc's are dying video, because I feel like we already kind of all know that. What this video is going to be talking about is what's coming after the 600cc motorcycle. It's a category of bike that is super popular still, despite manufacturers not being able to meet certain emissions regulations and seeing dwindling sales on 600cc bikes. They're still trying to figure out this Goldilocks zone of a sport bike that people can still enjoy on track and on street. So today, I'm gonna lay out 3 different avenues I think that we're in right now with this experimental middleweight sport bike phase that we're in. Actually, let's do 4 different avenues. I just thought of another one. Stick around. It's gonna be a good one. All right, so the current landscape, like I said, 600cc bikes are slowly dwindling off in sales, but lots of manufacturers are scrambling to figure out what they can present to the market that will appease this core buyer that is interested in getting something that is sporty enough for the road and sporty enough for the track. In days past, it was a 600cc bike, ridiculously uncompromising, really difficult to ride around town because the power was way up top, although a lot of committed street squids still chose the 600 as their daily bike. But Yamaha, for example, has released the R7. They decided to go with the strategy of, okay, let's reduce the overall power of the machine, use an existing platform in the form of the MT-07, tweak it just enough to make it kind of sporty and competitive, and they've done a pretty good job. We had an R7 in 2021 as a giveaway bike, and it was a pretty complete package. You had to temper your expectations. It was not a rocket ship super sport motorcycle, but as a competent and good street bike and an occasional track day toy, you could really do a lot worse than the R7. So that's kind of Yamaha's strategy. They're reducing the price, reducing the power, bringing it back to something a little bit more normal. But what if you hate that parallel twin sound? What if you really don't like even a 270 degree, you want the screaming inline 4 thing? Whew, jeez. All right guys, as you know, as motorcyclists, sometimes you got some crazy smelling fluids lying around in the shop. Some sort of mixture of gas and oil and crazy stuff that just stinks up the place. But you know what else is stinking up the place? You, with all your gooch juice walking in here. Don't worry, Manscaped has the solution. They've just released a brand new line of body wash, shampoo and conditioner, deodorant, hydrating spray for your body. That's crazy, you don't have to rub it in anymore, that's fantastic. Deodorant and lip balm as well. I know you got crusty lips after riding and I don't wanna see them. Hit the link down below and get yourself 20% off your order, added automatically and free shipping as well. Get yourself unstinked. Kawasaki is going to be trying the ZX4R here in the States, and I'm really interested to see how it will be received in the marketplace, because if Kawasaki can come correct with the pricing and get the power to be good enough to appease those street squids and get the ergonomics to be comfortable enough for around town daily use but still usable on track, again, the sort of Goldilocks zone motorcycle, they could have a real winner on their hands. We aren't super stoked on it here at Yami Noob. I think the ZX4R is going to be a pretty compromised motorcycle in a lot of different ways. Number one, it's just a little anemic for the everyday ride. A 400cc 4-cylinder motorcycle revving to 15 or 16,000 RPM is going to have basically no torque anywhere. You're going to have to really wring it out to get any performance out of it, which some of you may really enjoy. A lot of you in the comments on our ZX4R Yamcast told us that. You guys told us that you want something like that. You want something that you have to really kind of push a little bit to get the power out of it and doesn't get out of hand on city streets. And that's totally fair. Stuff like the V4S or the leader bikes are really crazy to ride around the city. And if you can assimilate in that kind of performance category and you can kind of simulate that inline 4 screaming rush without doing 150 miles per hour in 3rd gear, then you could maybe have a real winner. Again, it remains to be seen if this is going to be a burgeoning category, but it used to be in the past. You used to have stuff like the RVF 400 from Honda, the FZR 400 from Yamaha. This isn't a new category necessarily, but again, we're in an uncharted waters territory right now with the death of the 600s, where manufacturers are trying to figure out this new path, this new way forward for sport bikes. And it seems like people are demanding much more usability out of their bikes, which kind of leads to this 3rd route that I am very fond of, having ridden and owned one. It was the RS660. Aprilia is taking that same parallel twin idea from Yamaha, that formula, half of a RSV4 engine with a little bit longer stroke, and they're basically giving it to you in a package that revs out really nice, makes a great sound, has the premium quality of a new motorcycle. That's the one thing about the R7 we didn't really like, was it felt a little bit cheap and chintzy, but it worked great for what it was. If it's an aspiring track day toy or something you're going to be rolling around town with, maybe you don't want something super premium and Italian, but Aprilia is going to have you covered with that RS660 platform. It's still fully fared, it looks super cool. In my opinion, it makes a great sound. It's got this bellowy parallel twin that almost sounds like a Ducati V2 if you really put an exhaust on it and kind of listen close. Obviously, when you get to the upper register, kind of peters out around 11,500 RPM, 12,000 RPM, I believe. And that's gonna not be as super sporty as some people are looking for. And the power characteristics are much more linear and broad. If you're looking for a sport bike that you have to zing out and you want that feeling, then the RS660 is not going to do it for you. But I do think that the ergonomics package on the RS660 is just awesome. It works super well around town. It's got this thing in the pillion seat where you can take it off. It's got a luggage rack right there, so you can slap on a tail bag on it if you wanted to. I really think the RS660 could be your everyday awesome commuter bike, and you can also take it on track and just have an absolute ball with it. Now, some people will tell me that Aprilia reliability is a big deal, and I will contest that it's not as reliable as a Japanese machine, but good things have been said about the RS660 platform. Yes, a couple of the engines had crank issues, but those were sorted and paid for by Aprilia, so I think that they tried to do right by their customers. But they still have this stigma of the unreliable Italian weird bike. Maybe if they can win a championship, a Riders' Championship in MotoGP, they'll be able to, get a motorcycle out there and have people have a lot more fun with it. Who knows? So those are kind of the three sport bike options I'm seeing, the fully fared options that are trying to replace the 600. But there's a fourth option as well that I wanted to talk about, and it's the kind of track-ready naked bike. This is a bit of a different take on the replacement of a 600, and it's been coming for a lot of years, but we're seeing now with stuff like the MT09 SP, the 890R, the Street Triple 765R, all of these motorcycles that are trying to capture the exhilarating feeling of a sport bike, but that's very torque first, naked, and a little bit more upright. Obviously, if you're looking for a fully fared motorcycle, you're not going to really consider these naked options, but I do think that it plays a big part in the marketplace because not everybody loves the fully fared look or the whole thing where you have to unbolt all the fairings to work on it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to own a fully fared bike. I've owned many fully fared bikes, and my race bike right now actually has those quick release clips because with the amount of times you have to take off the fairings on a race bike, you don't want to have to get out the spanner and do the little hex bolts and all that. You just want to quickly pop them off, get it off there, and get to work on the bike. So maybe if someone can figure out a factory fully fared bike that has the quick release clips, would love to see that. We don't have to have fasteners on everything, guys. Please, manufacturers, listen to us, please. We don't want to have to get the spanners out for every little thing. But the naked bike with that bigger punch of power, I mean, stuff like the MT09 SP, 890R, 765R from Triumph, these are properly fast motorcycles. They're not going the route of the ZX4, the R7, or the RS660 in making a motorcycle that is a little bit more relaxed and chill than a 600 for that everyday riding. In fact, in some ways, they are more aggressive than a 600. An MT09, for example, is a rowdy, raucous motorcycle that is going to put you on your butt if you're not careful. And so it's a bit of a different approach. It provides you more torque up front, which is what the street rider wants. You want to be kind of wowed by the power and the feeling of power low down in the revs around the street, but they still provide an amazing experience on track. We had a Street Triple 765 that we had in 2020 as a giveaway bike, and that performed very, very well on track. It still features basically the same Daytona frame that I love so dearly, and it performed extremely well on track. There's a reason it's the gold standard. And I've heard nothing but good things about the MT09 SP, which I'm actually going to be trying out at the Yamaha Champ School here in a couple of weeks at the time of this posting. So that's kind of my suspicion on what's going on with this kind of Goldilocks zone, middleweight 600-ish cc sport bike thing. Some manufacturers are going smaller, some manufacturers are going bigger, some manufacturers are going cheaper, but I really think that the manufacturer that hits on all of those, if they can make something that is cheaper, more approachable, and still plenty fast, and makes a cool sound, that is so important. I really think that the sound is so important to people who are considering ditching the 600 class motorcycle. You know, people who are going to buy a used ZX6 or a ZX6 from Kawasaki because their literally MSRP is like $10,000. What a great deal for that motorcycle. You get so much bike for the money at $10,000 for a ZX6. But you have to convince people to let go of the screaming inline four sound, and that's pretty hard. A lot of people love that screaming inline four characteristic, and they want that from their sport bike. And if you're going to give them an R7 or an R660, they may not gel with it. So it may be that something like the ZX4R gets people excited enough because it's still loud and flashy, it's still green, and it makes the right sound. So guys, that's my predictions for what I think is going to happen in the 600cc category in the next 5 to 7 years. I do still think that we are coalescing around a 650-ish cc parallel twin upright motorcycle. That seems to be where all manufacturers are trending towards, but I really hope that they don't stop making exciting, middleweight, approachable, fun to ride sport bikes, because they still hold a very near and dear place in my heart. And I still think that a lot of people should buy them and ride them. I don't think that everybody should be riding Versus 650s and stuff like that unless you're trying to do big distances. If you're a weekend track day warrior and you want one bike to do it all, man, get an RS660. Get something that gets you exciting. You know, you don't have to settle for a sport touring bike, guys. Please don't settle for this. There's nothing wrong with sport touring bikes. We're actually going to get one here in a little bit and we're going to make a whole video about it. But I just think that if you're younger, if you want it, you should get it because it's exciting. You only live once, right? And you want a motorcycle that is exciting and fun to ride. But I'm curious to see how that's all going to shake out. I think also you can think about the fact that emissions regulations are coming for all of us. So these alternative options may be the swan song for inline fours, for parallel twins, for all these sorts of things. You may see a moment in time where you just don't have motorcycles like the ZX4R for sale anymore. That might be the final swan song of a fun, approachable 400cc inline four motorcycle. And this is all for the American market, guys, because keep in mind, Kawasaki sells right now that tax-advantaged ZX25R in Indonesia. That motorcycle never made it here in the States, but they're making a version of it in that ZX4R. So that's what I was saying. I think it's going to be a little bit more approachable and a little more upright for the average everyday rider. But let me know what you guys think down below. What's it all going to shake out as? Which of those kind of four categories would you prefer if you're a diehard 600 guy and you had to pick one of the four I mentioned? You had to go ZX4R, R7, RS660, or like a new middleweight naked bike. What would you get? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yami Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yami Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yami Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yami Noob.